And we're joined now by Helen Joyce. She's the Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters, also of the brilliant book Transgender Identity and the New Battle of Women's Rights. Morning to you, Helen.
Hi, Julia.
Lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much. Now, there seems to be quite a big sort of fight back going on. We had Sharon Davies on the show yesterday, basically pushing for, basically moving men who claiming they're women out of women's sport, quite rightly, following that Supreme Court ruling. And I know you were there at the Supreme Court in April. Everyone was celebrating. It's all sorted. We've still got an ongoing issue. But something has emerged in the Times, which is the guidance that we were waiting for from the Equalities Commission in terms of how we should interpret this not change in the law, i.e. that single-sex spaces are based on your biological sex and not what you feel on a Wednesday afternoon. What has this report suggested and what are the implications?
So the EHRC, the Equality and Human Rights Commission, has a duty to produce statutory guidance that's meant to give you like case studies and examples and answer common questions about the law. They don't write the law. The law is clear. The Supreme Court has said that. And they, to their credit, have said that repeatedly. Don't wait for our guidance. Act in accordance with the law.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had to update their code of practice for service providers. They did that. They had a consultation about it. They sent the final version to Bridget Phillipson, who is the Minister for Women and Equalities, and she has been sitting on it for 3 months with absolutely no sign of when or if she is going to put it before Parliament.
Because everyone's been saying, let's wait for this guidance, but it's there, it's sitting there.
It's sitting there, but anyway, you shouldn't be waiting for it. The law is the law. Like, it's no excuse that there's guidance coming. And anyway,
and the law hasn't changed. The Supreme Court just said, no, it is the case, and it has always been the case that sex-based rights are based on biological sex, not anything else.
Yeah, but what people thought was that it was about your paperwork, and a lot of people thought that they had to do self-ID for inexplicable reasons. So a lot of people did have their policies wrong, and they should immediately act to come in line with the Supreme Court. But also this guidance that Bridget Phillipson is holding on to is only for service providers. It's not for employers, and it's employers who are saying we have to wait for it.
Who do you mean by service providers then?
Oh, people like shops and gyms and council-run swimming pools and things like that. Places where there are changing rooms and toilets and so on, but not employers. They're two different. They have slightly different legal requirements. Yeah. And so Bridget Phillipson has this. She hasn't said what she's going to do with it. Anyway, it's been leaked. It's been leaked to the Times. And it does sound, from what we know of it, I haven't seen it, I should be clear, that it is very common sense. That what it's saying is if somebody that you can see as a man tries to come into the women's, you've every right to challenge them. Use your eyes and ears and your common sense, which is what we always did before all of this madness anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. We used to challenge them because we knew they were wrong, because men, no right-thinking man is going into a woman's changing room for obvious reasons. Doesn't belong there. Because there had been a talk about, well, what are you going to do? Ask for people to produce their birth certificates or their passports. But the guidance actually apparently points out, well, you can't do that because, of course, these are no longer factual documents because someone can get a document saying they are a man or a woman when they are the opposite.
But more than that, I mean, we know who's male and who's female. I was trying to think this morning if it had ever been the case in my entire life that I was confused about the sex of someone who was in the same bathroom or toilet as me. Literally not once, and I'm in my 50s. I'm able to tell what sex people are because I have normally functioning eyes and ears. So everybody else can do that too. And in the very, very rare occasion that, for example, a very tall, slim woman with short hair who's wearing a suit gets challenged, she can just turn around and speak and her voice will make it clear immediately and the other person will say, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
When a man comes in, we know.
And also, again, if she's not behaving in a way that people feel intimidated by and is worrying, watching people, then people won't be worried anyway. And there may be some men who are living as if they believe they are women, who may be quite petite and feminine by appearance, and again that's not going to be an issue. I think again this was always how it was, and it's not an issue. But at the end of the day, if you're a woman, you can use women's bathrooms. If you're a girl, you can go with girls' bathrooms, and if you're a man, you can't. And everyone knew that rule beforehand. But yeah, you've got the likes, the Eddie Izzards and others who say, oh, when I'm wearing heels, I'm a girl, and when I'm wearing flat shoes, I'm a boy, which makes me a boy today. That he can choose, and how he's basically shouted at women who've said, you have no right to be in this bathroom. He was breaking the law.
He was breaking the law, but I have to say the little petite ones who pass are as well. They shouldn't come in. Everyone knows their own sex. Everyone knows their own sex, and trans people can be expected to follow the law and the rules like everybody else.
Here's a clue. If you're having to use the word trans, I mean, there's the clue, isn't it? You're either a woman or you're not. It's very simple. I mean, look, we have got a Prime Minister who wasn't entirely sure until the Supreme Court, so I'm not entirely sure that we can trust that. But let's talk about why we've got into a lot of the mess we've got into, and that's because basically so many, not just the NHS, our schools, and much of our media, social service, you name it, have been absolutely infiltrated and taken over by trans activists, Stonewall, mermaids, the lot, fully signed up to it. And we've got a very interesting court case now with hundreds of parents. They're from an organisation called the Bayswater Support Group, representing 650 mothers and fathers of primary school-aged children and teenagers who believe they are trans. And they have accused the BBC of damaging their children with what they call a constant drip feed of one-sided pro-trans programmes, and they're calling on Ofcom, the broadcast regulator, to launch an investigation into their coverage. And their complaint is that senior BBC managers, including Jonathan Munro, he's the new head of news, interim head, had dismissed their concerns and failed to take them seriously. I mean, this is a very interesting development.
Yes, it is. I'm not sure we're at the court case yet. I think their lawyers have written to Ofcom.
Oh, right.
But I mean, the evidence is absolutely clear. Like, anyone who's been watching has known this for years. The BBC has pumped out propaganda about trans issues aimed at children. It has, for about 10 years now, it has produced material that has uncritically suggested that people have gender identities. There are dozens of genders. It's great to be trans. They've suggested that a boy who isn't allowed to play in girls' sports might consider suicide if he isn't allowed. They tell girls to be kind. They don't talk about the risks. They loads of cheery articles about puberty blockers, very slow and late to talk about the harms, incredibly one-sided. And the expression the Bayswater parents use, a drip feed, it's exactly that, a drip feed from what is meant to be our trusted broadcaster that we pay for compulsorily through the licence fee. And it has harmed not just the Bayswater parents' children, but all children, because it's all based on stereotypes and it's all lies.
Yeah, I mean, that's it is all lies. And they didn't put two sides to say the two sides of the debate. There's actually only one side of the debate that is fact-based. But again, this wasn't just in, what children are seeing, and we know what they're seeing on YouTube and the like is absolutely horrific. And girls going, I was really miserable and depressed, and then I cut my breasts off, and now I'm happy. I mean, they are literally seeing videos like that, and that's why they're binding their breasts and thinking this is normal. But again, if you're told that being a good person is welcoming of this and it's normalised and seen as an okay or even a positive thing, what a surprise, then that is what happens. But we know the BBC has been doing this on off-scale, industrial scale level, whether it's down to drag queens in everything. A news report about a single mother struggling with her weekly energy bill or food bill, and it's a trans identified man as opposed to a mother. By definition, he couldn't be a mother. Who they've chosen to interview on Women's Hour, supposedly, Women's Hour representing women's rights and safety and concerns. The biggest single threat to women, new threat that comes about is trans rights. You wrote, a groundbreaking book on it, trans. You weren't invited on once. I mean, we know what their bias is.
Yeah, I mean, it's propaganda. Honestly, it is propaganda. I find another word for it. I mean, they invite on men who write books about being women that are just insulting stereotypes.
Yeah.
What it feels like for a girl, one of them called his book. Another one called it A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Penis. They're both invited on and given these patsy interviews where the interviewer just sucks up to them. They didn't get me on to talk about my book.
Nope.
They got Kathleen Stock on because she was fired from the University of Sussex, but not to talk about her book. The bias is just so clear when you look at it. And if the BBC were taking seriously this report that was published about the bias, they would be coming on to us and talking to us now and saying, please come in and talk to us about your concerns. Let us fix this. We haven't heard a thing, Julia.
And it didn't really change that much after the Cass review into what was going on at the Tavistock. And lots of people, apart from the governments and, ministers and others were saying, oh, well, now we know this. There was actually, with all credit to Baroness Cass, there was actually nothing, Professor Cass, there was nothing in it that was new that even me, as not an expert in this field, didn't already know in terms of the studies into what happened with children with puberty blockers and the like. And they don't seem to change their stance when it comes to the Supreme Court ruling in April on biological sex being the only determinant of whether you're a man or a woman.
Well, they're still saying the toilets in their own newsroom are to be used on the basis of self-ID. I mean, until they change that, I don't believe they've changed at all. It's just shocking, Julia. 10 years, it's more than £1 billion a year. It's our money, and they've been harming women and they've been harming children, which is the worst bit about all of it.
Oh, the harming of the children. Again, it's unforgivable. If you're on the side of the people giving drugs to ruin children's bodies and lives and minds, and to mutilate their bodies, you're on the wrong side. It's as simple as that. Helen Joyce, you've always been on the right side. Thank you, as always. Really appreciate you coming on the show as well, from Sex Matters, and the author, of course, of Trans.